Good evening. We'll call to order the City Commissioner, El Dorado City Commission for July 2nd, 2018. First order of business is roll call.
Mayor Haynes,
Present.
Commissioner Guthrie,
Here.
Commissioner Lewis,
Here.
Commissioner Badway,
Here.
Commissioner Wilkinson.
Present.
Thank you. Next would be invocation. Would you lead us in invocation?
Gracious Heavenly Father, as we come before you this evening, we ask that you grant wisdom to our commissioners, the decisions that are made that will best serve your people here in El Dorado. We thank you for their willingness to serve and all that have come with needs. Now, Lord, we pray your blessing upon the decisions made today. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Having no proclamations or recognitions, personal appearances. I think I ask in here, we're going to insert Chief Seaman and Tony to talk about the weekend. I asked, it's not on our agenda, but I asked David if we could have both departments come in and talk to us a little bit about yesterday's events and what was going on in our own departments during that time, just to kind of, for our information as well as the general public, to know what they do when something like that happens out there. So could you share with us what it meant for El Dorado?
Kurt Zeman, Chief, El Dorado Police Department. About noon Sunday, a disturbance broke out at the El Dorado Correctional Facility. It involved 75 to 150 prisoners. It was out in the recreation yard. What we're being told is one prisoner failed to comply with instructions. He was secured and moved, and that riled the rest of them up, and they refused to go in and lock down into their living quarters, and it escalated from there. I don't know all the details, but they set several fires, broke dozens of windows, got access to some portable radios, pretty much like we carry, had a cell phone or two. That they'd got one of these little, I think they call it like a control shack, it's actually inside the double fences out by the gym area. And Tony can probably tell you a little more where that was. But that's where they gained access to those things. I do know a couple correction officers locked themselves in cells inside the D pod or D unit. I don't know all their protocols, but I'm assuming that's their SOP. If an officer gets in trouble, they can lock themselves into a cell. That way the prisoners can't get to them. I understand that Sheriff Herzia, they were requested to go out and assist at about 12:44. I was made aware of it about 1:40. Then I got the call from Sheriff Herzia for our assistance at about 1:45 or so. Asked me to send all we could send, and I'd had a discussion with David. So we sent 8 officers out there. All the officers except myself were helping guard the perimeter. That was our assignment, guard the perimeter of the outside fence. There was our 8 people. I think 27 sheriff's officers responded. KHP came out of the woodwork. I mean, it was a big response. So the perimeter was well secured. In my opinion, I don't believe there was ever any threat to the community. Although that was tense out there. I was in the command post inside the prison and watching all this on the monitors. I mean, it looked pretty tense, but in my opinion, that was very well organized. I mean, those people know what they're doing out there. keep in mind that when they have an incident out there, they've got special teams that go in and deal with that. It takes time to get those assets in place. They had teams come from Hutchinson Correctional Facility. I think they deployed Ellsworth, Winfield. I think they called Norton, but I think they disregard them because they're quite a bit farther away. But I mean, a lot of people in there. Once the team's deployed and they actually went out in the yard to secure the prisoners, it went pretty quickly. I mean, you just pretty much saw a wave of black suits going in, and the prisoners complied really quick. Those aren't teams to be messed around with. So after they got the yard secure, and their procedure is they secure all those people, I'm guessing with the flex cuffs, but they take them all in one at a time. So it's a lengthy process when you've got 100+ prisoners. They've got to take them in one at a time and search and make sure they don't have anything on them before they take them on in. They got that yard secure, then they went in and secured that D cell, and it was kind of sort of chaos too. I mean, they had kind of trashed the place, and but here again, once the team deployed in there, it went really fast. So they got the two correction officers out of the cells, and they were fine. And I'm hearing there wasn't any injuries to anybody apparently. So that's
They're reporting that on the news tonight. There were no injuries.
Speaks well for the process, that there were no injuries to either the correctional facility members or the prisoners apparently, so that's good. So, but we stayed there in place. Once they got the yard cleared and the unit indoors cleared, they released us about 6, it was a little before 6 p.m. is when we left. So we were there 4.5 hours. Like I said, 8 of our people. So thought the process went well. The incident command went like it should, and they're all professionals, and it seems like they know what they're doing. So I have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chief.
I'm Tony Yajin, Deputy Chief, the El Dorado Fire Department. Not going to recap on what he said, just going to give you a point of view from the fire department's side. Roughly at about 1:23, we were dispatched to the correctional facility for a structure fire. So four of our apparatus responded with 9 guys. Once they got there, they staged outside in the main parking lot and awaited for further instructions. We did get some assistance from Towanda Fire Department. They sent over an engine as well to assist us in the event that we had more than we could handle out there. They staged with us out front in the front parking lot as well. Once I got there, I went inside and I was the liaison for the fire department to coordinate any activities that they would need as far as fire suppression. Watching the surveillance cameras, we did see 2 fires in the facility, at which point once those areas got secured, we went in and we surveyed those areas to ensure that the fire was, one, extinguished or at a smoldering phase where it was not going to be of a concern to the facility out there. Considering the security measures that are out there, most of the fires we were able to either finish completely knock down with the fire extinguisher, so we didn't have to get any trucks inside the compound itself. So all of our units cleared the scene out there a little after 6:20 p.m. So any questions?
Great. No, thank you, gentlemen, for sharing.
All right,
and
thank you.
Keeping us informed, at least on what our departments do in situations like that. So
Glad we were able to help.
Yeah.
So, thank you. Moving on, next on our agenda would be public comment. Anybody from the audience wish to address the commission? Seeing none, we'll move on to close public comment and move to consent agenda. Items on our consent agenda would be the minutes for June 4th and June 18, which are in your packets. Anybody had a chance to look through these and have any questions or comments? If none, then I'd entertain a motion.
I move that the consent agenda as presented be approved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Not having any old business, we'll move on to new business, which is item 10 on our agenda. It's lake debt prepayment for stages 2 and 3. David, last time we talked about this, we were kind of seeking some additional counsel or information. Have you been able to secure some of that?
Yes, staff reached out to our financial advisor, Tom Calico from Springstead Incorporated, to ascertain a scope of services and a cost for further studying the financial benefits, pros and cons, if you will, of prepaying stages 2 and 3, as previously discussed with the commission. He did provide us with, an email as well as a proposal to study that. I'm going to read his email real quickly. I'm not going to read the proposal, but that was included in your packet. But in essence, they would study, there was 2 phases, and if I remember correctly, the actual cost of those services was about $15,000 to do that. At the last study session, the commission kind of discussed the response and the proposal and offered that that was sufficient for the majority of you all, so we brought it all to you for this, for action. Now, what the action will actually do is ask staff to consider or to include prepayment in the 2019 budget. We actually won't make a prepayment this year. We'll make it next year, and that way we have the full amount to make the payment, so we don't have to roll over a year or anything like that. But Tom had responded as follows. We concur that utilizing the sinking fund to pay off debt related to the activated storage is a viable part of a long-term solution. In effect, paying off this debt would be the same as investing a sinking fund at a rate of 3.502%, which is higher than the investment rate the city will likely achieve in the foreseeable future. However, utilizing the sinking fund for this purpose would significantly reduce the water fund liquidity. It is possible that cash will be needed as the city pursues a long-term solution for the inactivated storage. We would suggest, therefore, that prepayment of the debt related to the activated storage be executed after the city has identified viable strategies to address funding of both the activated and inactivated storage areas. And then included with that was his proposal, going into detail about what that would look like. So with that, I'll stand for any questions that you all may have.
In his proposal, did he talk about, any shed any light on viable strategies? What are next steps? I certainly see that retiring debt's a good strategy or the right thing to do. And I guess
That's probably the part that costs $15,000.
Yeah.
yeah, it would be. So are we,
In the proposal, it didn't say, it kind of just said how great they were and what they can do for us. Not really any grand information that I came off of. I think, Wednesday when we met, the conversation was, did a financial advisor agree that this was a good idea? He did. But I think that the other side of it is that figuring out what to do for the future. Putting this on the 2019 budget gives us that time to look at a plan and see what we can do and what to do for the rest. But this secures for the future for the city. And I think if we, I've looked at it 50 different ways, and I've talked to a lot of people about it, just kind of get their feel, and everybody's been very positive about it. Yeah, that's great. We own it, it's ours. We can worry about the rest later, and it will secure, as Kurt said earlier, it secures, there's more in there than what we use right now. So even future growth, we're still good. So I say we do it. Lock it down, and then after that, figure out what we're gonna do about the rest of it.
this sets in motion budget. calculations as much as anything. This whole viable strategies is part of this whole process moving forward, which we commission continues to have conversation about. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So today's decision really is, and I don't disagree, it sets forth the strategy of paying off lake debt, prepaying lake debt, and sets forth in motion the next steps for the remaining stage, as well as what the infrastructure costs, what are the costs to get it to market, and those kind of things. So I agree. I mean, it's the right thing to do, and without any hesitation there. I just want to keep our eye on the future, because what we're doing is we're essentially spending all of our savings in the sinking fund, which is kind of an ironic term for this, isn't it? To do this. So I just want to be cognizant of that.
That being said, that's what the savings were for,
That's correct.
was to pay off this debt. And quite honestly, water's been probably my number one priority in the going on 8 years I've been here. And if this will do anything to push us down the road a little bit and maybe get some action on this marketability and stuff on water, hey, I'm ready to do a flip. So I'm all for it.
The cash balance that's left will stay in savings, or will it be directed?
So the cash balance that remains will be included, will be in the water fund reserve.
Okay.
So it'll just be carryover balance, in essence. The water fund, instead of making this payment, will just carry that amount over each year. And so we'll be able to save up. And so as it relates to either, whether we need to do a study or engineering or anything related to infrastructure for selling water, we'll have funds in there that we can do that with pretty easily.
Good.
What do you think, Greg?
So will we shop around for a new financial service to take care of our money on the lake, or are we gonna keep it with the same one that we have now?
So right now, in the past and right now, the city hasn't really shopped those services. The city's bank has been providing those financial services to the city as part of their, I guess, contractual services for providing banking services to the city. I don't know the last time the city actually bid those, but I suppose that would be an option. But in essence, what we're doing now is we're just investing them and reinvesting them in CDs and other short-term notes, so it doesn't really take a whole lot of investment strategy to do that.
Do it every 3 years?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, Commission, we bid
Yeah.
our banking services and our financial advisor services every 3 years. So we actually just signed Tom's, the financial advising, which I think is what you said.
Right.
We actually just signed his contract last year, so he's got another couple years on that contract.
Okay.
What about banking? Where are we with that?
Banking needs to be bid this year.
Is to be bid this year?
Yes. So
Okay.
we'll be bringing that to you sometime this year.
Okay. All right.
And you said there won't be any penalties by doing this, and as far as with the bank and everything?
That's correct. Because we've structured the current cash and investments in CDs on short-term timeframes, if we decide to prepay, for example, we'll know that months in advance. So we will then divest ourselves of those CDs, and instead of rolling them into another CD, we'll just hold it as cash until it's time to pay, and then we'll just pay it. So we won't actually have any money in any CDs or investments at that point in time. We'll just have cash. So there will be no penalties.
No substantial penalty for early withdrawal.
That's correct.
You should be a banker.
No, thank you.
And have you talked to the Corps?
We have not yet talked to the Corps, but there is a precedent for them accepting prepayments on other similar type loans. So that will be part of the logistics, if you will, between now and
The next year or so?
exactly.
Okay.
Kind of excited about this.
Yeah.
I think it's a big deal.
It's huge.
So with that, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to include the prepayment of stages 2 and 3 of the lake debt associated with El Dorado Lake in the proposed 2019 budget and further direct the city manager, that's you, to take such actions to prepare for said prepayment.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further comment? Question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Intend to get out of some debt next year.
And good on you guys on staff for bringing this up to us.
Absolutely.
This is all you guys getting the math done and figuring out what it takes. So thank you for doing that. This was excellent.
Okay, next item on our agenda would be city flag.
Are you the artist?
No.
No.
Okay, I apologize. Squirrel. Okay. The city has gone through a process to find an official city flag. We went through multiple rounds of voting and selection, and it was a very public process where anybody could submit a flag design, and some people submitted more than one. But at the end of the day, we had a flag design prepared by Jarrett Dean that received the number of winning votes, 567 votes. And so we are asking the city commission to accept that flag to make it official. And then we will begin making plans for getting the flag out there, at least from the city standpoint. We would also, I guess, I don't know if it's an official action or not, but the flag would presumably be in a public domain, so anyone can use the flag for example, T-shirts or bumper stickers or anything like that. There wouldn't necessarily be proceeds that would come to the city. It would be just an open public record or public domain that would make it available to anybody that could use publicly.
So there's no copyright.
That's correct.
In this, is there any repercussions for anybody who doesn't quite do it right? I mean, is there, right? Makes this, defaces the
The
flag.
artist
anyway.
doesn't own the copyright on it?
No, they
No,
waived
it was a
those
public
rights
deal
when
like
they
that.
submitted the design.
Yep.
There are, as an option, there are copyrights that protects the design function, but doesn't necessarily protect like the monetary value of it.
Right.
We could look into those. Those are open record, or not open record, but open
Right.
open rights or open copyrights. That could be something like MIT, for example, has one that protects the integrity of the design, for example. But other than that, no, there are no repercussions for misusing or changing, modifying the flag, which I believe is perhaps half the fun. I mean, I think in like Wichita's case, for example, they've utilized their flag design in a number of different ways that aren't necessarily just the flag, and so by doing that, I think it provides maximum flexibility.
Okay, just curious.
So are they looking for an inside vendor to do this flag, or?
Molly is doing that research right now, and I haven't actually checked with her recently to find out where she stands on that. But we are looking at a local vendor to prepare the flag, and then if others want to do different things with it, they would be able to do that with whomever they choose. So.
Okay. Well, it has been a very public process and one that's been had a lot of talk about town for some months. So here we are. Entertain a motion.
I move to adopt the flag design shown above.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. We have a city flag.
Go.
There we go. Thank you, everybody who participated. There certainly was a buzz around the town, and that's that was great. There's some good pride. It was fun to see, fun to watch. Next on our agenda would be city commission reports and advisory board updates.
I have none.
I don't have any report, but I've got a question. I've noticed here in the last few weeks, do we have a abnormally large number of crows in town?
I don't know.
I counted on my way down here, and I just live over here on Locust now. I saw 7 crows on my way down here. And I'm just not, I don't know why I started counting crows, but I've just noticed, and I just got to thinking, I don't ever remember seeing this many crows in town. I'm just curious.
It's probably the mosquitoes. They're after.
They're not gonna, they can't catch a mosquito. That'll be a purple martin to catch a mosquito. Okay, I know it's dumb, but I just was curious. Maybe ask Jay. Don't spend a lot of time on that.
Okay.
Greg, you have anything?
I don't have anything from Inc., but I got a question from Butler County to Scott. Are they still thinking about doing Tawanda Avenue to the college?
The Tawanda Avenue through the college. The college was presented a petition
Right.
to look at if they wanted to petition you all for improvement of that roadway. They took no action on that. It's still in your CIP. It's years down the road looking at the future of Tawanda Avenue from Haverhill and then on to Boyer and Boyer as well. But with the majority property owner being the college, we tried the petition route.
Okay. Dana was the one that asked me because the township's doing some work out there and they were
yeah.
wanting to know about it. What the-
Yeah, and over the last number of years, we've partnered with El Dorado Township on a number of patching, chip
Right.
seal projects out there, because the city limits kind of stagger through there. Half the road's ours, half of it's theirs, and that's all theirs, half ours. So it's kind of a staggered boundary.
They didn't know whether to go ahead and patch on down by the college and he asked me about it.
Oh,
And that's why I asked you. So,
okay, yeah. Well, and I'll give them a holler in the morning.
okay. Also, he asked if you could do some patchwork on Haverhill Road. Across from BG Stadium, right out in the front, there's some potholes on Haverhill.
Okay.
That's all I had.
I haven't met on any of our committees yet, and I really don't have much. Just have a good 4th of July and don't blow your hands off. Can't do fireworks at the lake either. That's another, not very many people knew yesterday at the lake. People I was with, I had to explain to them that you can't do that, so no fireworks at the lake. Other than that, I got nothing. Happy 4th of July.
Thank you. Well, the only thing I have, I guess, would be to say that East Park is going to be open. There's a lot of activities coming up at East Park through the CVB sponsors, as well as the City of El Dorado Rec Department, doing a lot of things at East Park for 4th of July festivities. I think there's open swim that evening as well. And then we have our fireworks show at the stadium after the baseball game. So if everybody can that's been circulating in the newspaper as well as on Channel 7, I would imagine, the schedule for the day. Find a turtle and go to the turtle races.
That's right.
And lots of things to do on that 4th of July day in East Park and in the ball game. And I concur. Have a safe and a fun 4th of July. The other thing I've got is a couple of weeks ago, a 254 corridor coalition is being formed, and that meeting I think some of you might have been at that meeting a few weeks ago. That is proceeding, but one of the things that have spun out of that is a request from the city of Wichita, Mr. Armour, which is a Public Works Utilities project engineer. The city of Wichita is putting together a grant request to the federal government. It's called a Better Utilizing Investment to Leverage Development Grant. It's targeting what they call the North Junction, which is the 254, 196, 135 interchange. And they're asking here for support from the regional communities that tie into that, and El Dorado being one. I have got an email here requesting a letter of support for that grant application. So I don't operate in a unilateral fashion, so I guess before I say on behalf of the city of El Dorado we support the request, I would bring that up and like consensus from this community, this commission to generate such a support letter.
If the grant was successful, would there be any financial obligation from us?
No,
Okay.
no. This is purely a request to this. It's called a build grant coming out of the federal government, and it's targeted towards that interchange.
To rebuild it.
Yeah, yeah. There's quite a. It's in the design process now, I know, and it's not funded through KDOT. They're seeking all kinds of different options for funding. This being one of them, and it's come about that they're headed to Washington D.C. to talk to Department of Transportation, as well as I have it on here.
I've seen the design of it, and it's pretty nice if they get it through.
Which is what, 4 years of 3-4 years of construction?
Probably
2 minimal, 3.
3 to 4. It's been in design stage for 2, so if you take design times 10, that's construction.
Yeah.
So, at any rate, before I do that, I wanted just the consensus from this commission for a letter of support to another entity. Everybody's okay with that?
I'm cool with support it.
Okay. Great. Well, we can work together the language on that. Send out a letter of support. Thank you. I don't have anything else today.
Okay. Last Tuesday, the other thing that was, well, we had a tornado incident in El Dorado and in the surrounding areas. So I talked to Brad about the tornado sirens, and I wanted to you guys got an update on it at the study session last week, but I thought we would talk about it very briefly here for the public who may be watching. So the city will actually sound the sirens when a tornado warning has been issued and a threat is imminent to the city of El Dorado. Sirens will sound for 3 minutes, and then they will rest for 5 minutes, meaning that they will be off for 5 minutes. And then that cycle will repeat until such time as the threat has subsided. And the reason for that is we currently don't have an all clear siren. And in lieu of creating another sounding siren, which further complicates matters, the city of El Dorado's practice has been and will continue to be a 3 minute on, 5 minute off, repeat cycle until the threat is subsided. So if you are outside and you don't hear the siren for more than 5 minutes, it means that either the threat has gone away or the sirens have been taken out. So, which are both potential during a storm. So we do not have an all clear siren. We just have the 3 minute on and 5 minute rest and repeat cycle. The sirens are meant to alert people that are on the outside of structures. People who are inside may hear the sirens. However, they should refer to an indoor weather radio or their phone or their TV for weather reports, as opposed to relying solely on those sirens. Those sirens, in some cases, you can hear them inside. In some cases, you cannot. So we want people to make sure they are aware of that. The city maintains several tornado sirens that are tested on the first Monday of each month at noon. In fact, you probably heard them maybe even today. Sirens that are not functioning become an immediate priority of the Public Works Department, and they are repaired immediately. They are not, well, we've got an issue here and we'll come back in a week or two. They're addressed at that moment and repaired assuming, of course, that we have all the parts on hand and we don't have to order anything. But they do become the top priority of the city at that point in time. They are tested every month. That includes the off tornado seasons, which is predominantly the winter time. But whether it's sunny out or snowy out, the city will have a person at each of those signals, sirens, and they will be listening for the silent signal, and they will also be looking at it to make sure that it's rotating as it should. I believe that is all that I had to say on the tornado sirens. This past drill that we did today, all the sirens did operate and function. The two out at the lake are not City of El Dorado sirens. They did not work. Well, we don't know if they worked the night of the tornado, but they did not work during the tests. We specifically went out there and wanted to make sure that that was the case. They didn't, and so Brad's working with the parties that would be to make sure those get repaired and get back into function as soon as possible. But those are not on our system of the states, and so we're trying to make sure those function work at Boulder Bluff, and I believe it's Shady Creek at the lake. So any questions on that? It's a lot of information.
What did we do, or what have we done in assistance for Eureka?
So for Eureka, the police department sent, is that correct? The police department sent a crew over. They were requested by the city of Eureka to provide some security services during the primary cleanup that day. They have requested a street sweeper, and we're coordinating that with when they need it. They just made the initial request, and once they let us know when they're going to need it, we'll make provisions for that. Because it's a CNG street sweeper, we have to drive it over, and then they'll use it, and then we bring it back on a trailer, fill it back up, and so it's kind of a little inconvenient, but it does get the job done. And it's my understanding that the last time they had a tornado, that was what we did, and it helped out a lot. So other than that, they have not made any other requests for assistance at this time, but they may in subsequent days and weeks. Some additional good news, our assessed valuation, the county's let us know that has increased by about 6% from $86.6 million to $91.9 million. And now a mill in El Dorado is worth $89,525 after you remove the neighborhood revitalization rebates out of that. The mayor already talked about the 4th of July celebration, so I won't talk about that. But Junior Golf at Prairie Trails begins July 9th, and that'll go from the 9th through the 13th. If you are interested or would like more information, please call 321-4114 to get more information. The first twilight swim of the season is scheduled for July 13th at 8 p.m., which will be at the municipal pool. And Drums Across Kansas will be coming up on July 16th at 6:30. You can call City Hall at 321-9100 or visit drumsacrosskansas.com for more information. And the last two things, the municipal band plays most Thursdays in July at 7:30 in Forest Park. So if you're interested in the municipal band performing most Thursdays in July at 7:30. And then finally, the next meeting is scheduled for July 17th. Normally it would be July 16th, but due to Drums Across Kansas, we've rescheduled that to take place on the 17th at 6:30. That's all I have.
David, the street sweeper has been in Eureka since Thursday.
Street sweeper
got
has
a
been in
message
Eureka?
right after you said that.
Thank you.
It's deployed.
It's deployed.
It's been deployed.
Great. Well, thanks for staff for able to go over there and help as they can, and those, I know SBA put together some food and some other supplies, so whatever we can do to help our neighbors, we appreciate everybody's work. Thanks. That executive session, that brings us to adjournment. I need a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.